Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Titan Quest 2, a game that I believe is one of the best ARPGs to be currently on the market. It is very much an old school style game, while it also does have some of the new style of combat such as dodging and all of those things. It is a really fantastic game that has a bunch of great features and in my opinion one of the coolest settings in an ARPG. So let's just get right into it. So what is Titan Quest 2? Titan Quest 2 is an ARPG figure, Path of Exiles and Diablos and that sort of thing. It's a top-down hack and slash game. You are focusing a lot around your loot, your gear and your builds. Now, one thing that Titan Quest does incredibly well is how easy it is to get into and how quickly you feel powerful. Because in a lot of these bigger ARPGs, it can take a while for you to feel powerful. When you play your Path of Exile, you have to play through the campaign and set up your build to really feel that power come in. And the same thing goes for Diablo largely. Now, for Titan Quest that's not really the case. In the background gameplay you've been seeing, I've used a very simple skill setup that I've had basically since the beginning of the game. Now, if I wanted to show you it, the skill tree looks like this for each class. You can combine two. In my case I combine Storm with Wayfarer and you have your core skills that I haven't really looked at. But in your Storm class, this is my starting class, I ended up using the Ice Shot spell a lot. And on that I added an additional projectile which made it cost more mana or energy as it's said here, but it also allowed me to pick Chaos. Chaos is what made it so that a bunch of things appeared around me, a bunch of ice shots. Now at its end, like the largest amount of spells that you can add to the modifiers, you would have 12 additional projectiles, and now they go in a random direction. To fix the random direction problem, I added a homing to them. And then I added projectile penetration so they can go through the enemies. Now I have a shit ton of projectiles just being shot out at lightning speed, penetrating different projectiles. And that is basically my entire build. Now every single spell has different passives that you can add to it. Some of them can do way different stuff, and the same thing goes for the passives. Here you can just see I have something that just increases projectile damage. There's a lot of different small things that you can do here. And I really appreciate that. I think it's one of those very rare cases where a game's leveling system and the skill system, especially within the ARPG genre, hits it perfect. This is not too complicated and not too uncomplicated for it to be fun. This is the exact amount that I want. I think for me personally, Titan Quest 2 has proven how to make a really good system that doesn't feel overly grindy or hard to get into and can give you that feeling of being strong quite fast. Now, Titan Quest 2 is an early access, and that is something that's gonna turn some people off. I will say, however, I do not think this is something that should turn you off. Titan Quest 2 is good regardless of early access or not. At the moment, there isn't a lot of in-game, but what is here is roughly give or take 9 hours of pretty good story content, a beautiful map to explore, and lots of monsters to kill. What is here right now, in my opinion, proves that this game honestly really has a lot of value. To me, this is what I want more of. If we just get what we have, which is a bunch of side quests that will take you around the map, you'll have a fully fledged first chapter of the game, multiple boss fights, and one of the more interesting systems being these random quests that can appear. Not unlike Diablo 3, but more intuitive with items that you pick up and different puzzles that you solve as you explore the world. I think these systems are all great and I really like how they're implemented here. But the biggest thing that I really like is how you can retroactively, after you complete an area, go back to level the entire thing up. Let's say that you decided that you want to play slightly harder content. Well, then you can go back and level everything, including the bosses and everything else up to a set amount of levels above you. That will cost you a set amount of gold and a little bit like that. But it's nothing that will cost you like an arm or a leg or anything. I think that is a really cool system as it makes for the open world to be quite fun to explore and it makes it feel like that is the sort of endgame I should be approaching. Now, there's a little bit too little content here for me to fully say that without a shadow of a doubt this is going to be worth it for all ARPG fans. But I do really think that this game's system and the core feel of how you play this game feels really good. It is the movement, it is in the abilities, it's in the progression of the game. That is what makes it feel so fucking good. And now, I of course love my Age of Mythologies. That is one of the very first games I ever played. And this being a Greek mythology based sort of ARPG is something that I'm deeply into. I think this is really cool. I think the setting is cool, which of course sells me even more on it. And I really do like what there is here as a early access game. I think this is really fucking solid. Now, I also believe that the open world area can sometimes have a little bit too much. I would have liked a few smaller zones, but that's also about really it. I don't have a lot of things to complain about when it comes to Titan Quest 2, because quite frankly, the game is just really fucking good. And I cannot undersell how good some of these combat loops feel. Like, the entire idea of the build that I have here, essentially just being add as many auras and passives as I can, and then buff up like the sort of ice shard. It's really fun. It's really fun to play like that, because it means that I can almost out of the box feel more and more powerful. I can see the progression happening. It is a pitfall that I feel like way too many ARPGs fall into, where you very early on feel very weak. And that is nothing to do with like the boss damage or anything you can do a lot of damage, but visually it just doesn't look as compelling. Here it really does have that compelling element to it, in my opinion. I also really like how you can combine multiple classes, especially knowing that there will be more classes added to the game throughout its lifespan. Now, for one, we know that already 3 months from now they're talking about adding even more classes, and I'm looking forward to it. I think anything that they could add would, in my opinion, be really nice, as more combinations just mean more reasons to play. And we don't even have the full skill trees of every single class yet. Now, that being said, it is an early access game, and there are early access things with this game. Not bugs per se, the only issue I found is a ladder that was kinda hard to climb, and some visual bugs. But of course, be aware of the early access feel to it. But it also has an early access price tag, in my opinion, being sold at around 30 bucks on Steam, or 30 euros. I think that is pretty solid for what you're getting here, honestly. 10 hours of game that is highly replayable, in my opinion at least. I've been grinding the shit out of the early areas for getting this like better loop, because I like these loops. They are simple, but quite frankly, they are very relaxing. I really do like this being like the sort of just grind game that I can grind at my own pace. And I think that is gonna be appealing to a lot of people. Now, Titan Quest 2 being a newer ARPG also has dodges and so on. But fear not, it is not as if you have to use these systems. You can actively avoid dodging, I'm fairly sure, as you can just throw down your shield if you invest into it. You see, just like with your normal skills, dodges and shields and basic attacks are also skills they are in your core skill tree. And you can add different effects, such as turning the dodge into a teleporter and a freezing explosion at the end of it. It is really cool with the just sheer amount of things that you can do to each and every single one of your spells, including the shield and so on. And even then, I rarely use any of them, partially because everything is dead before I get there, and I really enjoy the fact that you can do that. I think it's one of those things where they have the combat systems, and honestly, when I've had to use them for boss fights and stuff like that, it doesn't feel bad at all. But they have the systems there, but you aren't necessarily forced to engage with them if you are good enough at building your character. I think that is really a cool little compromise to have there, where you don't take the old school feel of an ARPG out and replace it with this more Soulsian feel where you have to weave and dodge and avoid enemies' attacks. Plus, even if you use it, this is one of those combat systems that actually feel pretty good. When I talked about Diablo 4, I didn't quite enjoy the dodging as much in that game. The combat elements felt a little janky. Here I think they're very much passable. I really enjoy the dodging here, I enjoy the feel of it, I enjoy how it flows seamlessly into combat. Especially with the fact that you can upgrade it and make it better than just your standard ass dodge. Now, that is not all that is great about Titan Quest, because just take a listen to this soundtrack from the main menu theme. That soundtrack, in my opinion, is a fucking banger. It really slaps. It really sets the tone of the game. And I think I can say that about a lot of the game. While the story isn't anything to write home about, it does revolve around you currently trying to find the fates, basically the people who are making your like strand of fate or whatever in mythology. It's interesting enough as a thing to keep the story going, while I wouldn't say it's spectacular. It takes the front and center for me. I really enjoy what the game has to offer in terms of story, while, you know, it isn't like the most perfect thing in the world. What really does take the front and center is the gameplay. Now, one thing I really like about Titan Quest is just the fact that you can play this game at your own pace. There's no rush, there's nothing that forces me to play for 30 hours this week to get the newest gear. No, I can come back in 2 weeks and play the game at my own pace, leveling up and doing what I do best. It's fun. I enjoy being able to just pick and choose the things that I want to do versus the things that I don't want to do. I also like the relaxed feel of Titan Quest. It is not something that you often see, where it feels more like I am playing an actual story-based game while also playing an ARPG, rather than just playing an ARPG with different seasons, and maybe you'll have your traditional seasonal pass and multiple microtransactions and all that. And if you look back at it, historically, Titan Quest 1 didn't have a lot of those issues either. It had some DLC, and that seems to be about it, and it looked pretty fun as well. Now, Titan Quest 2 definitely has caught my attention. I really like this game, and I will be giving an update on it in 3 months' time when the next big update hits or whenever. I really enjoy Titan Quest. I think it's a really solid ARPG, and if you like this genre of game, then I think I can recommend it to you. With the one note that just keep in mind it is an early access. There isn't a lot of content here yet. Now, I think if they add a lot of content and they add some fun in-game content, that could be something to the equivalent of mapping in Path of Exile or just anything like that. Just any form of in-game content, I could really see this game sort of blowing up. Because people clearly want an ARPG. They want an ARPG that feels good that they can play and get into. But I also think a lot of people think a lot of the newer school ARPGs, your Diablo 4s, your Path of Exiles, they can feel a little bit overwhelming, not just by the systems being a lot, but also by the fact that you have to restart after 3 months. It can both be a blessing and a curse, really, because of course you can play softcore and you can play outside of the league or the seasons, but a lot of people, I think, don't really feel that way. They feel like they almost have to go into them, and not having any seasons or any leagues kind of solves that issue. Just having your general game with new DLCs coming out and so on, I think is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how Titan Quest 2 develops. I think the game is really solid as it is. Just keep in mind that there's a lot of content. But anyway, I just wanted to discuss Titan Quest 2 because I think it's a really cool game, and I think it's a really fun game, and quite frankly, I haven't seen enough people talk about it. It's a game that really does deserve your time, especially in a few months. If you're watching this a few months from when I made this video, I think it's worth to go and just have a look at Titan Quest, because it seems to be a genuinely really good ARPG, and the way it's shaping up, in my opinion, it could become one of the big ones. For me, it for sure has become, but we'll see how things go in the future. For now, that's about it for me. Do the YouTube stuff. You can leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you liked the video, then thank you. And if you made it here, you know, thank you for making it this far. Usually, I don't think a lot of people stick around for my ramblings. Now, with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day ahead of you, and I'll see you all later. Have a very good night or a very good day. Bye.